During my time playing Overwatch, I've seen some interesting interactions and some things that weren't exactly immediately obvious. They've probably all been mentioned elsewhere before, but I thought it couldn't hurt to record them in a video anyway. By deploying a Junkrat trap on top of a wall, you can create a mobile trap that you can launch into enemies. To get the trap on the ball, you have to aim for it to land on top of the ball, otherwise it just bounces off. You can do this with concussion mines too if you want. Unfortunately, the traps don't keep the target held for as long as a regular one, and the timing seems inconsistent, but it's still a fun thing to do. Here's a cool trick. If somebody is lifted by an ice orb while trapped in a Junkrat trap, the trap breaks and they're free to move. This works on anyone. You can free yourself, trap teammates, or even enemies if you're that sort of Mei. This is probably the one everyone is most aware of. It involves dropping a concussion mine on the ground, waiting for the ability to recharge, before jumping and then deploying and detonating the second mine in mid-air to get extra distance. Here's a spot where this trick comes in useful. Usually, you can't make this gap with a single mine jump. Or maybe you can, it's just difficult. Whereas, if you just wait for that second mine, it becomes a lot easier. And from one double jump to the next. This trick comes from the fact that whenever Winston transitions between his primal rage state, that is, either entering or exiting, his jump pack ability gets instantly refreshed. Which means that timed correctly you can reuse your jump pack while still in the air from your last use. You can use it to change directions in mid-air, or combine them both to perform one giant leap.
How embarrassing.
Now from the best double jumper in the game to the worst one. At the end of Genji's Dragon Blade ult, there's this animation at the end where he puts his sword away, leaving him vulnerable since you can't attack during it. If you're using Swift Strike when the sheathing animation should start, however, you can completely skip this animation. I've got a couple of clips lined up to demonstrate this trick. The clip at the top is dash cancelled, and the one at the bottom is just the regular timing. Both clips have a timer that starts on the last 3 seconds of the ult and stops the moment Genji's shot uses ammo. I'm no pro Genji, so the timing could be better, but hopefully it demonstrates there's definitely a difference. I'd played a decent amount of Ana before I realised the Biotic Grenade still works on a teammate debuffed by an enemy Ana's grenade. Even though your grenade won't heal them, they'll still be under the effects of the bonus healing buff. You just can't see it until the debuff has worn off. It's not that amazing, but it's probably worth mentioning since it wasn't obvious to me.
Lights out.
This was going to be a nice and simple one. It was supposed to be, when Torbjorn activates his ultimate, his level 2 turret will get upgraded into a level 3 turret with full health, regardless of how damaged it was beforehand. And so I was going to do some science to find out what happened to the turret's health when it reverted back. But when I did some testing, it showed that actually what I thought wasn't completely correct. And now this is turning into a part where I have to ask for help to understand what's going on. Here's a table showing the results of my few tests. The first test looked fine. The turret was damaged down to 195 health before getting altered into a full 800 health level 3 turret. The level 3 turret was damaged down to 80 health, and then when the ult ended, it turned into a level 2 turret. Interestingly, with more health than it started with. But then in the second test, it didn't get a full 800 health, and then I tried to work out what influenced the final health. Comparing the second and third tests suggests that the starting health of the level 2 turret is what governs the end level 2's health. The tests both start with the turrets at the same amount of health, and though one takes a decent amount of damage, they both revert to a level 2 with matching health values. But then the fourth test turret, which doesn't take any damage whilst it's level 3, ends up with more health than the turret from test 1, which started with 15 more health and took a lot of damage while level 3. I just don't get how it works. Maybe somebody with more time and coordination to do more precise tests might be able to figure it out for me. Next up is Ball May Ice Walls. I love ice walls, they're a great way to get around, and the best part is you get to bring your teammates along for the ride. As a rule of thumb, pretty much every wall in the game is scalable with a Mei ice wall. Sometimes the ice wall might fall a little bit too short, but you can usually find some elevated terrain or a nearby object to give that last extra boost.
This will stop them.
I thought I'd share some ice wall spots I know of that are either useful, interesting, or not immediately obvious. Fair warning, the rest of this video is just going to be Mei ice wall spots. If you're not into that, you can stop watching now, although they might be useful to be aware of. Know your enemy and all that. This flank in Volskaya Industries is probably my favourite for any character really. A simple wall in this spot and a short hop and you've bypassed most of the enemy's defences. With the boxes in attacker spawn on King's Row, you can use 2 ice walls to get any character to the upper spawn door. And on the defender's side, you can use 2 walls to get onto this thing. Yeah, King's Row doesn't have the greatest spots. At the beginning of Dorado, you can use ice walls to traverse up to and across all the roofs. I'm sure everyone was just crying out for some Bastions and Torbjorns up there. On Nimbani, you've got this okay spot where you can climb onto the bus. Then from there, you can use another ice wall to hop over onto the walkway. But further on, you've got this super flanking route, which to be honest, I didn't even know existed until I recorded this clip. Most of it can be jumped through, but the last bit needs an ice wall to get over. On Watchpoint Gibraltar, there's an incredibly tight jump by attacker spawn that can get you up onto the walkway. It's pretty useful, but quite difficult to consistently pull off. Further on, we've got another tight jump for those who can't be bothered to walk around to get a better spot, that lets you get onto the nose of the ship. I've tried approaching from the left side, but I always seem to fall just too short. Maybe it's possible, but it's probably too difficult to use easily. This last one is probably the most useful, though it takes 2 ice walls to pull off. Now, anyone can use the sneaky flanking route to the last point. Hanamura has some weirdly inconsistent spots. The simplest way to get through the Shimada spot is from higher up, but from the ground things start to get messy. Placing an ice wall right against the wall isn't high enough to get over. There's this weird spot by this tree you can use for a boost to get a wall high enough. If you build a wall on these rocks, the wall is high enough. And then putting the centre of the wall further back by the curb is enough to get over. With a wall, you can get up onto this walkway. With another wall, you can stand on this roof and boost yourself onto the top. This spot is useful for getting to and from the flank. It's not necessary to put the wall down there to get across from the attacking side, but since you can use that same spot to get back across from the defending side, it's easier just to remember one spot. You don't even need to use a wall to get back from the defender's side, but it's nice to have the option if you don't want to risk the jump. At the last point, you can use an ice wall from here to get onto this overhang. And then, from there, you can use another wall to get over to this side ledge. You can also get onto the overhang from the ground, though it's a lot more inconsistent. The only way to consistently climb over is if you put an ice wall in this particular corner. A wall on the other side works, and the same rule applies to that one too. What is it with Hanamura and weird spots? And that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something new from this. If you know what was going on with that turret thing, please let me know. Or if you know other interesting things, feel free to share them. I'm always interested in learning new stuff. Maybe if there's enough, I might even make another video about them. I don't know how to end this, so bye.